Are you asking what would I do if I was coaching him? Yeah, I'd sit him this week on a short week. In my experience, the best of the best teams have had a number of players that were high-level hitters, and now this one gets too much attention. You leave this one open, you know, he's gonna shoot the three and make you pay. And so you want to have, you know, enough balance in how you do things to make sure that one player, you know, doesn't get too much attention, but also enough that they don't wreck the game.
Look, if Daniels does suit in on Thursday, which it looks like he's going to, he'll have a familiar foe in Micah Parsons to deal with. Parsons has terrorized Washington with 10.5 sacks in 8 games against them. That includes 4.5 sacks of Daniels in his rookie season. And so here's Rob Domowski with more on the Packers star.
Guess who decided how much Micah Parsons played in his debut for the Packers here on Sunday against the Lions? The answer? Micah Parsons. Well, just how that happened. Here's how Parsons made his case.
You know, the other day when they were talking to me about the snap count, I was like, man, we can run gassers, we can be in practice, and you give me these plays, we can run to the ball. But I was like, at the end of the day, like, you gotta let me push through some things. You gotta let me, like, you know, get tired and get wore out there, so that way I can become better and get better from it. And, you know, that's when it was like, okay, your reps can go up. Like, you gotta really, like, sometimes you gotta fight for your own right to play, you know, even though they bring you in.
As for Thursday's game here against the Commanders, I asked defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley if on a short week Parsons could play any more than he did on Sunday. And he said hopefully, but we'll see how he feels. And hopefully very soon, we're talking about him never coming out of the game. In Green Bay, Rob Domowski, ESPN.
All right, well, let's take a look through Micah Parsons' performances against the Commanders last season. But first, just listen to Jayden Daniels' eerily similar response to facing Parsons in November.
Records wreck the game. You don't let game records wreck the game.
All right, a little coach speak for you, it sounds like there. November 24th, 2024, Week 12, Parsons showing off his versatility very early on. Parsons lining up to the left. Watch him getting through 2 Commanders players just easily for the sack. And that would be as he was just getting started. This is later in the same game. Parsons lined up at the right side this time. Easily past the double team.
Excuse me.
Second sack of the day. Doesn't matter where he lines up, he's going to get after the quarterback. 2 sacks, 8 total tackles. Fired up about it, too.
January 5, 2025. Parsons is relentless with his pursuit. Right side of the line of scrimmage, forces Daniels up and out of the pocket early, still catches him. 6.21 seconds until the sack, marking Parsons' second slowest sack of the season. And then, just 2 plays later, showed you the pursuit now, the quickness. Over the center, that's a bad spot for that offensive lineman. Takes no time. Took him 2.808 seconds this time to get to Daniels. His quickest sack of the season, had 2.5 sacks, 4 total tackles, 2 games. Just a ridiculous stat.
Niners got some bad news today. Adam Schefter reporting that Niners tight end George Kittle is going on injured reserve with a hamstring injury that he suffered on Sunday. So for more on the Niners.
49ers decided that George Kittle was going to need to miss at least 4 games, so they put him on injured reserve, and now he won't be able to play until their 6th game of the season. He joins a long list of injured 49ers pass catchers that includes Juwan Jennings, who has suffered a shoulder injury in the Week 1 game. They're hopeful that that's not too serious, but they're awaiting further word on that. They signed Kendrick Bourne, a former 49er, back to their wide receiver core to help bolster things as they're kind of losing bodies left and right there. And then quarterback Brock Purdy has a left shoulder injury and a toe injury. The 49ers are going to find out as their practice week unfolds how much Brock Purdy can do and whether he will in fact be healthy enough to participate in their Week 2 game. If he can't, Mac Jones is the backup quarterback who would take over for Brock Purdy in Week 2.
All right, thank you. So when Kittle's a no-go, that's been no good for the 49ers quarterbacks. Over the last 5 seasons, their numbers have fallen off a cliff with Kittle out of the lineup, including a 10-point drop-off in QBR.
You know, in the offseason, we hype ourselves up on the idea of what can be. Like, things are really finna be totally different across this league. And some things are, Shay.
Yeah, of course.
But there's plenty that doesn't change whatsoever.
That is true, but some things did change. You know, like Aaron Rodgers' jersey colors, the city of residence that he lives in, and maybe some thoughts on his talent level after the Steelers beat the Jets on Sunday. Vintage Aaron Rodgers, though, I have to admit, It was good to see.
It was.
So let's focus in on number 8. He had his 4th game with 4 passing touchdowns in NFL history.
How about a little special teams action? Kickoff returns are back, baby, as the return rate was at 76% in week 1. That's the highest rate in a single week since 2010.
And Pete Carroll led the Raiders to a win. Carroll became the first coach to win in his debut with 4 different franchises, first doing so over 30 years ago with the Jets.
How about the Buffalo Bills sit in the final 4 minutes to win a season opener in league history?
And the Packers looked like the team to beat in week 1. They won their 13th straight home opener.
Also, wasn't typical Bengals behavior. Just 7 yards in the second half, but Joe Burrow and Cincinnati won for the second time in their opener and improved to 2-9 in weeks 1 and 2 under Burrow.
Yeah, there's
One of the NFL fantasy season is in the books. Here's a look at the top performers by position. Shocker, Josh Allen led all players with nearly 40 points. What might surprise you, though, Jawan Johnson led all tight ends in point total. Here's Daniel Dopp on the Saints tight ends and others who you should target on the waiver wire this week.
Week 1 is in the books, which means it's time to dive into the first waiver wire of the season. And why not start at the tight end spot? If you got to replace George Kittle, I'm looking at Jawan Johnson. 11 targets in week 1, led the Saints in both catches and yards. And a reminder, there's no Taysom Hill on this squad. This team should be trailing a ton basically all year long, which means they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. He is a top 12 tight end for me in week 2 against the San Francisco 49ers. I also love myself some Hollywood Brown. Unfortunately, with Xavier Worthy going down in week 1, Hollywood Brown had to step up, and he crushed it. 16 targets for 10 catches and 99 yards. He is going to be a low-end wide receiver 2 or high-end flex play against the Philadelphia Eagles here in week 2. And at the running back spot, you got to talk about the Cleveland Browns. Quinshon Judkins had a very serious off-the-field situation earlier this offseason. I still believe that a suspension could be in play for him at some point this year, but he is signed with the Cleveland Browns, and he will be the future lead back of this team. When he is back there, he is going to be a top 25 running back with potential RB2 upside. Let's not forget his backfield mate, Dylan Sampson. The dude crushed it. 8 receptions for 64 yards in week 1. You're looking for that kind of passing game usage. You love that out of a rookie running back. Those are my top waiver ads here.
Right? And so there are still plays, though, that are replaying in our minds. Like, how did he do that? Right? So this is a much less divisive version of Super Tuesday.
Yeah, even though politics is something that everyone loves, we're commandeering Super Tuesday here on SportsCenter. Going to use it to show you some of the dang good things that happen on the gridiron. Let's kick it off here with one of the few good things that happened for Clemson in their entirely too close win over Troy. Ricardo Jones. They say when you follow the ball as a defender, you might mess around and make a play, and that's exactly what that good brother did.
Hampton, his eyes are on the quarterback the entire way. The ball hits on his butt, and look what I found, Ricardo Jones with the INT.